Welcome. All right, so I'm gonna ask you. Actually, you know what, Steph? Why don't you introduce who you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Kailulu Davis, and I am the founder and lead creative director at Far Owl Studios, and we are currently developing Ethereal Metropolis. It's a
Nice.
narrative-driven, tile-based strategy game where you fight against shadowy Eldritch Unicorn deer abominations. But as for what exactly I do in voiceover, what I'm specifically responsible for is for the casting, the directing, and implementation of audio, and making sure that the performances are really good in the final product.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. So, before we get into more of that, I'm going to ask you a few things. Okay, the first
hmm
thing I want to ask you is what game are you playing, looking forward to, or is one of your all time favorites?
All right, that is multiple questions you asked
That's a good
into one.
point. Thanks. Let's start with the first one. What game are you looking forward to?
The game that I am looking forward to is this Dune game that's being released. It's still in development. I forgot the specific name of it, but it's a Dune game. I'm a big fan of Herbert's universe and
Nice.
what it's specifically centered around.
Nice. I thought you were going to say, I'm looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom for a second. Thanks. All right. So, that being said, what, because obviously you do directing for video games,
Mhm.
what is your all time favorite?
Video game.
Or
Oh
one of
man,
them?
that's like saying pick your favorite child.
Or one of them?
Um, yeah, who is your favorite child? I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to say Sid Meier's Civilization. Not really any specific one, but that was the one that really got me into deep into gaming and kind of like this whole entire idea that you can like create emergent narratives. If you don't know what emergent narratives are, they're essentially stories that come from you just playing the game. They aren't told to you. And so I really like thinking playing through that, and then like as events were happening I was just simulating what was happening inside my little 7-year-old brain when I first started playing.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Civilization. Like, people are raving with it. They love it. I haven't tried it personally. I think I should check it out now that I hear so many people talking about it. Like, what are you currently playing?
I'm currently playing Stellaris.
Nice.
um yeah, it's a grand strategy space empire simulation game, with a bit of XCOM sprinkled into there.
Nice. Cool, cool. All right, so we got the gaming stuff covered. Now, let's talk shop about what it is you do as the founder of Far Owl Studios and the casting
hmm
director. So, you told us about yourself. All right, what, tell us a bit more about what got you into being a CEO for this company, a director, that kind of thing, like the whole shebang.
The whole shebang is that I just wanted to make kick-ass games.
There you go.
Um, it wasn't anything like arduous journey or anything like that, but that was really the big first step. Ever since then, I was like, and I've always just said, you know what, I'll do things on my own terms, and I've always sort of had that entrepreneurial spirit. As my mom says, "Kai do Kai things." I don't remember saying that, but I do exactly that. And so I've been doing that. And as for like, do you want me to talk about how I specifically got into direction?
Yeah, that's yeah. We'd love to hear that actually.
So I was an actor during high school and middle school, and stage productions we put on were actually very high quality. We actually had professional actors directing us,
Nice.
and helping out with the production on it. So I had that rigorous foundation sort of helped me into going into first starting going to go into voice acting.
Right.
I've always liked hearing voice acting, but as I started doing more and more game development, I was like, voice acting and being inside the booth wasn't exactly where I felt I belonged within the whole entire process. I still wanted to be part of it, and ultimately I was like, you know what? I'll just go for the directing side.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's good. Speaking of entrepreneurial things, like a lot of actors are starting to find out, you need to be more than just a good actor. Like that's not enough to cut it. And in fact, you got to take that extra step on being entrepreneurial with what it is you do. Be your own agent. Be your own this. Be your own that. Things. And you seem to already got that down as being somebody who's like, you know what? I don't think being in the booth for me. I want to be outside of it and be a director. Things, which is actually pretty cool.
Thank you.
So, as a casting director, what do you look for when casting talent?
Ooh. So one, that depends specifically on the character, obviously. So
Okay.
like what they're auditioning for and so forth. But what I specifically look for within actors is whether or not, excuse me, they are capable of, one, understanding the character, two, not phoning it in, and three, giving me a unique take. You wouldn't, in the last two auditions that we've hosted, there were tens of reads that were all similar to each other.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. You cover that.
That's one thing, when you're on this side, on the other side of the casting, you hear the general basis of how people would interpret it. If one of my advice is that is to ask yourself, how would the standard Joe say it, or the standard Joe or Jane say this line, and then be like, okay, so that's how they are doing it. How would I insert myself? And that's another thing. How that's like the fourth thing. How much of yourself can we identify within that? That lets you create that mixture between what we have in the character and what you bring to the table.
Right. That's good. That's good you brought up, because a lot of what, like, you and me have gone through different various acting classes, and one of the things that have come up is you want to find a way to stand out, because the majority of auditions end up sounding the same, and it gets tiring to a director, which I'm sure you just mentioned right now. It's like we heard all the same damn auditions sound the same, and it's like, ugh. So,
I
and
was
then
banging my head against the desk, like, not kidding. I was actually banging my head against the desk,
I'm-
listening to the same line for the 75th time.
So that's good you mentioned it up. Like if it's that bad, like chances are other directors are going through the same thing. Like, oh no, that's
yeah.
number 70 and it's still the same thing. So
Oh my
like,
gosh.
exactly. And stuff.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that got brought up, because one of the things I started focusing on now is like, all right, how can I understand the fundamentals. I understand how to put two and two together. Now, how can I rearrange this in a way that's unique to me and allows me to stand out? And I think a lot of actors benefit from that, because they think that, oh, hey, I follow a set formula, like a math equation. I follow a set formula and I'm going to end up with this answer. And as we just saw, no.
Yeah. But even then, like, people think that even with mathematics, there is a set formula to arrive at a certain thing. But even with math, you can take a whole variety of different routes. That's what calculus taught me.
That's a good point. So you're definitely a lot better at math than me and stuff. I'm looking at math like, oh, it's a miracle I could get through my finances on my own.
Fair enough.
So in an actor's performance, what would prevent you from hiring a talent?
The basics. So obviously, mic quality. Mic quality is a big one. Sound treatment is definitely another one. We do read through your emails. We say, like, if you do provide like a disclaimer, like, hey, I recorded this while on the road. I got this sent last minute. And so, like, here's my audition, but here's my setup. As long as we have information about, like, what specifically your setup and your technology is, along with, like, what methods of recording, like Discord or Open Studio, I forgot the specific name of it, it just records it so that we can communicate back and forth with each other.
Right. Yep. Totally agree.
And then as for what else we specifically look for is, I wouldn't say passion nor energy. Um, it's more something more specific, that which is a combination of those two. I understand that, like, yes, this is a casting call and the odds are not against you, but also at the same time, just don't go over the top and overexert yourself, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Thanks. I think that because one of the things that led to the creation of this page was that I kept seeing everywhere. The first thing people asked was not so much where to get classes, but hey, what mic should I get? And you should really ask yourself, how do I treat my area before getting any kind of mic?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, even before, like, how do I treat my own area? I think just taking your phone mic and
Mm-hmm.
just taking the listen to yourself, recording yourself, reading things, doing various reads, and just taking a focused, in-depth listen
Mm-hmm.
to how others really do their performances would really help out. And so, yeah.
That's good. So, okay, so we got that. Now, how do you get the result you want or is needed from an actor when you're directing them?
Okay. Well, you need to understand their tool set.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and see and get to know them. You need to get to know them. I just do, like, with the people that I work with, I do just small talk.
Right.
Just ask them about their day, just get an idea for how they usually speak, and listen to their demo, so that I can best inform myself about, like, okay, what's their limitations, and like what's their, like, essentially what's their toolbox. The toolbox is like what the voices you can do and all that stuff. And once I get an idea for, like, okay, here's what they're good with, here's what they're not so good with, and, like, here's how they do all that, I then have to work around, to see how exactly I can get them from where they are, from, like, their first cold read and how they approached it, and using that information that I got from whatever resources I could get,
Right.
whatever information I have, I then use that to get to the point. And so, like, one of my most favorite examples is that while I was in the booth, I had to ask one of the voice actors, like, what is your greatest fear? And I'm not going to go exactly into that, but as soon as they told me, I started playing off of them, and I essentially got them really spooked.
Right.
And so, yeah.
So you start working with them, like you identify what it is that really makes them tick as an individual, and then go from there, or what they have to offer and bring to the table, and then work with that.
Yeah, because one of the things about voice acting is that voice acting is one of the really cool things about acting in general, is that, like, it's this different conflict, it's this unique crossroads between the writing and the actual performance of it, the actual display of it.
Right.
And what part of the magic resides within, like, having the actor and the writer's visions of this singular character within the context of the scene all coming together to really make something brand new. At times there are directors that say, like, no, you have to do it in this way. And, like, I have moments like that where, no, you need to absolutely do it like this way, because there's a specific rigid vision that must be executed in order for the most impact within the scene.
Right. That's a good point to mention, that like every director has their process, but like some things are consistent with it, and other things are more unique to the director. So it's definitely good to see directors when they're like, okay, I want to work with this person, I want to see what they can offer and what I can offer, and then start making something together. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, what is the best way for an actor to get on your bad side?
Ooh, the best way for an actor to get on my bad side is to. That's a very good question because I'm usually a very um. It's hard to get on my bad side
Okay.
um because I understand in the heat of the moment, and I openly call out people for the bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't. But I like offer them the opportunity to just amend their mistakes. But essentially, it would be a repeated mistake of it. And then along, um, and then as for like the blacklist listing, like my personal blacklisting is just like overall word of mouth.
Right.
Just like, hey, don't work with this person. I'm lucky to have not had those experiences yet.
Right.
Um, because like the community that I've surrounded myself in is very friendly. But I'm sure there's a couple of people that if when I do keep on going on with this, um, uh, they will end up on my blacklist because they just push my buttons.
Right.
So like, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely important to see because, like, for me, when I work with other people in general, it's like from what I've experienced, I've seen a lot of good people worked with you and stuff. It's been great. Learned a lot from you. Worked from this person, that person, this person. But every now and then, you run into somebody who they just want to push the envelope with you, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to work with you, but then they keep it up, and it's like, all right, this ain't working right here.
Hmm.
And then after they start not crossing those after they start crossing those boundaries, it's like you gotta let them know right there, like, hey, this not working. Things I already said once or twice, and they still want to do it. So then eventually it's like here, and then as they keep that attitude going with other people, they're gonna start realizing it right there, and it's just not gonna help them.
Hmm.
So but yeah, no, that's definitely good to mention. So you probably answered this one earlier, but just to I probably double back. Do you accept other ideas from an actor, or is it your way or the highway, and why?
Okay. Yes, I do accept other ideas of actors, but for the most part, it is my way or the highway,
Right.
simply because there's a specific demeanor in which these characters must conduct themselves, that which a certain way in which the characters have to portray themselves on screen, in which they can in which it brings them more character, and especially with how video games works.
Right.
It's this voice acting usually comes in the later part of development,
Mm-hmm.
because well, you just have to focus on making the game first, and
Right.
so you already have these characters in mind, and you have already this stuff, and you just can't afford to be like, hey, can I like really change this character up? It has to be like overwhelmingly convincing and already in accord with the vision of the video game.
Got
Um,
it.
as for other context, I can't quite comment, but actually, yes. As for if I'm correct, animation's definitely more flexible
Mm-hmm.
because of lip syncing.
Right. Yeah. It it can be that case. So if I've heard directors are like, yeah, I'm open to ideas, and I've heard other directors it's like, nope, right here, we do it my way or the highway or a combination of both, like you mentioned. And it's interesting to see how both works because I think that, like for me personally, I'm not gonna argue with a director. Like they say do it, it's like all right, let's do it. And things it's not one, it's not my job to argue with the director. If I want to make
No,
something, then I'm gonna go make my own stuff. In which case, I can argue with myself all the time. But
exactly.
exactly, and I think that's important that you mention that to other actors because I've heard actors is like, oh yeah, I'll argue with the director, and then I'm like, really? So where are you at in terms of jobs? I still haven't gotten a job, but I'm gonna keep arguing with them. A couple years down the line, same thing. It's like, might want to check the tactics now and stuff. Arguing with the director isn't just troublesome to the project, but at the same time, it can net a bad reputation.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The only time when you should be arguing with your director is when your director is doing a bad job.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I've seen those. I've seen those ones too. And some people, they just drop out. They're like, yeah, I've had enough of this. It's not being professional to the talent, and it's because let's be honest, neither sides are perfect, and either we
Mm-mm.
mess up or something happens. And it's always good to know, like, this is what you can do when this happens, instead of just winging it and be like, oh man, I totally hit the wrong button on my way there. But yeah,
Yeah. I
so
think one of the oh,
go no, go
can
ahead, go
I?
ahead.
Yeah, so one of the thing, so just to elaborate further upon like when it's appropriate to argue with your director is when they are one giving inconsistent direction. So say like, so I remember I was on the other side of this. I was working with someone, and I got really frustrated with them. I just straight up said, "What the hell are you looking for from me? Like I need like clear actionable feedback." And so one of the things that when you're arguing, you shouldn't be arguing for the argument's sake, but rather you are pulling something from the director because, like you said, they are not perfect. And so when you're on the other side, be sure to know what exactly the director is looking for, and if that's not clear, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
But some directors don't take that so well, and that's more of an ego problem. And so I'd be, personally speaking, it's like, eh.
Yeah, I think definitely asking for clarity is it's helpful because like communication, that's really the key.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So we have that covered. Now, as a director, what would you say is important for an actor to have when you decide to cast them? Like what, whether this be tech or anything, I guess to reiterate possibly, because I might have asked this question earlier, but what are the important like 101s to have that really say that boxes that should be checked off?
So for the 101s, the basic stuff, excuse me, it is clear and good acting. And what I mean by good acting is that you aren't reading a line like this, and your deliveries are very stale and so forth. But rather they are more dynamic. You lean into the peaks and valleys. You're able to effectively convey over a sort of emotion in and so forth. So that's the basic parts of that, and that will come with time and experience. It's more of a more, I have found, a more mindset that just requires training. And so then there's obviously sound treatment and mic quality. We, as for me specifically, I am very hesitant about USB mics.
Right.
Whenever someone auditions with a USB mic, for them to have a chance is for them to be a more whatchamacallit, a more cool character. They aren't yelling or anything that could risk peaking the mic.
Right.
And then sound treatment. As you can probably hear, I don't have very good sound treatment in my own apartment.
So good. So we can hear you clearly, and I think this is really important stuff for actors to know when they go down nowadays, especially around our generation and probably the generation after. I hear people go, I want to get into anime. It's like, okay, but I want to get in. But do you? I don't. All right, fine. And it's, at that point, it's like you have there are certain things to address that need to be addressed at the moment, and even to the point that one of those things being addressed is that anime doesn't pay well. And a person has to know, like, because at this point we're adults usually who apply to a lot of these gigs, and we have to put food on the table, and we have to pay our rent, and we have to pay this and this and that stuff, and all kinds of this stuff. And it's like, do you have that covered before you go out and have fun? But yeah, I go ahead.
It's always good. Yeah. It's always good to have those dreams in mind, but it's also like you can't get a high off of those dreams. I've seen a lot of people, and I was one of them too, before I got really serious, where I just simply got high off these like grandiose ideas and seeing myself in them, and that was satisfactory enough. for
Right.
me. But as I grew older, I was just starting to become like, oh, like if I really want that, I need to take this step. It first started out like, hey, I want to make my own big game. I'm like, okay. As I've gotten older, I'm like, oh gosh, let's tone down the scope of it a little bit. And then from there, and then I was like, okay, so like first I need a team, first I need funding, and like I need to build an apparatus to organize the team, and yada yada yada. That's just an example from my video game development side. As for like voice actors, it's essentially mastering the basics. Another important thing is networking.
Right.
I know you're stressing that a lot, but one of the big important things is just getting in touch with people like me. Just saying like, hey, are you guys planning on doing casting calls? Yes, June. Yes, June of this year. We have casting calls coming out June of this year. Spoilers. So, and then networking, but even if you don't really use that networking, just following people and having information about here's a potential free opportunity, here's a free workshop, here's a free class, here's a server where you can connect with others and practice your voice acting, and really get and just up your chops in voice acting. That is super important. I think having information and playing off that information is critical.
Agreed. Yeah, everything you said, I totally agree with, and I think that, like you mentioned, it's like when I decided to start getting serious about it, I went from, oh, the idea sounds great, to, all right, how do I actually make this happen? And then you start getting satisfaction, not just from sitting there and thinking the idea, but you're getting satisfaction from working towards this goal. And then as you start achieving more and more towards it, it's like, oh wow, this is actually possible. Oh wow, there's more stuff I'm learning, and you start getting, you start enjoying the process.
Yeah, it's super funny. It's like this follows for every single creative art. And so, like, if you cringe at yourself, and you're bad at first, that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, we were all bad at once. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
go back and I read my fan fiction when I wrote in middle school, and I cringe. I'm like, oh,
It's like, oh God.
yeah. But I'm like, I hate doing it, but I'm also like, I need to do it to understand like where I'm at now and how much, see if I've even grown.
Yeah, and I think that's important for all actors or anyone of any kind of medium that we do to accept, is like, we were here and now we're here. It's just part of being human.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay, what drives you to do this?
What drives me to do this is that it's just been my lifelong dream.
Right.
But that's the flowers. That's the real nice. It's super kind. No. What's actually driving me is necessity. And because I'm graduating from college, and holy can I swear on this?
Yeah,
podcast?
you're fine. Your stuff. We got bleeps.
Holy I'm graduating in less than a month.
That's congratulations.
When we're recording this on the 27th of
Yes.
April. I graduate on May 22nd. I'm like, holy I need, if I want to do this full time, I gotta really do this.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way, and stuff. That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks. So that being said, dude, thank you for coming on and things. I think that this will help a lot of people, stuff who are definitely out there trying to hit the grindstone and wondering, like, where do I go from startup? Am I the only one? Am I the only one in the world that does this? Like, no, you're not. It's like,
not.
exactly.
It's called a community for a reason.
So before we end this where can people find you?
All right, so I'm just gonna say my studio's socials. You can find us on Twitter at FarOwl, far_owl, like
Right.
hoot hoot. On Instagram at FarOwl Studios, on YouTube FarOwl Studios, and yeah,
Cool.
those are our socials. And also we are having a Kickstarter campaign of fall of this year, and if you go to our website www.farowlstudios.com and you go to stay in touch, you can sign up for our newsletter where we'll keep you updated about it.
Sounds good.
Richie, think you can think I can provide that link for you?
Yeah, sure. I will do that, and then I will post it in the video.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So this has been good. Again, Kai, thanks for stopping by and doing
Thanks for
this.
having me.
Yeah, this stuff. I think that I knew for a fact. I need to find a director who like is on the other side of the glass and makes these choices. That's what people want to hear. Of course, the actor journey is great and all, but what happens when you get up to the person who's at the door and approves this kind of thing? What goes through their mind? And I think that was like, hey, let me go ask Kai and stuff. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out.
Yeah. All right. All right. I will see you around.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for having me, Richie.
Yep. Yep.